Hi, I am Ariel, and welcome to LETC-Channel. In this podcast, I am going to talk about English vocabulary. Now, let's get started. This is when you do something or you try something simply so you can move on. For example, let's say you've been talking about going skide. Someone might say, just go skydiving so you can get it out of your system. So once you do it, you can stop researching it. Stop looking it up and just move on already. I like this one. Speak of the devil, speak of the devil. This sounds negative because of devil, but it's not at all. This is used when you're talking about someone and they appear exactly as you're talking about them. This has happened, right? Let's say you're talking to a friend about your mutual friend, Bob, and you're talking about Bob. Oh, is Bob going to come to the party? Oh, I'm not sure. I haven't talked to Bob. And then your phone rings and guess what? It's Bob. And then you can say, speak of the devil to give someone the benefit of the doubt. This is when you trust someone when they tell you something. So if a coworker is late and they call you and they say, I'm stuck in traffic, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's trust that he's actually stuck in traffic ... and no pain, no gain. This is a classic one. This is used to say that if you want results, real results, you have to be willing to work hard and get uncomfortable. So I might say, if you want to improve your public speaking skills, no pain, no gain. You have to be willing to get uncomfortable. Hang in there. This is a great one. It simply means don't give up. I know learning a language is hard, but hang in there. A penny for your thoughts. This is used to ask someone what they're thinking. So let's say your friend is just starting out the window, and you probably are wondering what are they thinking about. You can turn to your friend and say a penny for your thoughts. It's not rocket science. Rocket science is complicated, right? But if we say it's not rocket science, this means it's not complicated. So I could say becoming a confident English speaker is not rocket science. It's not complicated. You just have to practice speaking to let someone off the hook. This is a great one because it means that you don't punish someone, one, for a mistake or a wrongdoing. So your boss could say, I know you came in late today, but I'm going to let you off the hook. I'm not going to punish you. To make a long story short, this is when you take a long and usually complicated story and you make it very simple by sharing it briefly. So you could say, long story short, we missed our flight. So there's a long story about why you missed your flight, but you don't explain those details. You just say, long story short, we missed our flight. Easy does it, easy does it. This is a way of saying slow down. So if your friend is at the gym and they're trying to do too many exercises with too much weight, you might say, easy does it slow down to go back to the drawing board. This is when you need to start over and create a new plan or strategy because the first one failed. So let's say you are trying to solve a computer problem. You came up with a strategy, it didn't work. And then you can say to your team, well, let's go back to the drawing board and try again. Once in a blue moon, this is an event that happens infrequently. For example, I only see Kara once in a blue moon, not very often at the drop of a hat. This is a great one because it means without hesitation or instantly. For example, call me if you need anything, and I'll be there at the drop of a hat. It means I'll come instantly if you need anything. So it's a really nice, reassuring thing to say to someone to add insult to injury. This is when you take a bad situation and it becomes even worse. So let's say you're going out on a first date and your date showed up late. That's already a bad situation. But then to add insult to injury, your date forgot his wallet and you had to pay for both of you to hit the sack. This means to go to bed. For example, I'm really tired. I'm going to hit the sack. The ball's in your court. This is used when you need to make the next decision or the next step. So I might say, we offered her a great promotion. So now the ball's in her court. So it's up to her to decide if she's going to accept the promotion or look for another job or do something else. To be or to go barking up the wrong tree. This is when you look in the wrong place or you accuse the wrong person. For example, if you think I lost your ring, you're barking up the wrong tree. You're accusing the wrong person to get or to have your ducks in a row. This is when you're well prepared or well organized for something specific. So you might say the conference was supposed to start 10 minutes ago. They should have gotten their ducks in a row. They should have been organized or prepared to get or have the best of both worlds. This is when you enjoy the advantages of two very different things at the same time. She works in the city, but she lives in the country. She gets the best of both worlds, the lion's share. This is the largest part or most of something, so you might complain. I did the lion's share of work on this project to be on the ball. This is when you're performing really well. Wow, you completed all those reports already. You're on the ball to pull someone's leg. This is when you're joking with someone. So we usually use this to reassure someone you're only joking. Don't get upset. I'm just pulling your leg to pull yourself together. This is when you need to calm down. You regain your composure after being really upset or agitated, angry, annoyed, and then you calm down south. I might say, pull yourself together. It was a false alarm. So the alarm made you really agitated, and I'm telling you to calm down south. Far so good. This is how you reply when you want to let someone know that everything is okay until now. How's the project going? So far so good to be the last straw. This is when you have no patience left for someone's errors or mistakes. So I might say, this is her 5th time being late this month. That's the last straw. No more patience for her mistakes. Time flies when you're having fun. This is used to say that you don't notice how long something takes because it's enjoyable. So you might look at your watch and say, wow, it's AM already. And then someone could reply and say, yeah, time flies when you're having fun to be bent out of shape. This is used to say you're upset, you're angry. For example, Janice is bent out of shape because she has to work late tonight to make matters worse. Matters in this sense means problems to make problems worse. So I might say, I have to work tonight, and to make matters worse, to make that situation even worse, I have an early appointment tomorrow. Don't judge a book by its cover. You've probably heard this one. It means that you shouldn't judge someone or something on appearance. For example, let's say I'm hiring people and I say, I'm not going to hire him. Look at his hair, and then my colleague would say, well, don't judge a book by his cover. Look at his resume. 2. Fall between two stools. This is when something fails to achieve two separate objectives. So let's say you plan to watch a romantic comedy movie. That movie is supposed to be romantic and funny at the same time, a romantic comedy. Two objectives. So you could say that movie fell between two stools. It wasn't romantic, and it wasn't funny to cost an arm and a leg. This is when something is exceptionally expensive. Now, airline tickets are usually expensive, but exceptionally expensive, even more expensive than usual, I might say. My flight cost an arm and a leg to cross a bridge when you come to it. This is used to remind someone that you only need to deal with the situation when it happens. So your friend might be concerned. What if I forget all my words during my IELTS speaking exam, and then you tell that friend cross that bridge when you come to it? Worry about that problem when it happens to cry over spilt milk. This is used when someone complains about a problem or a loss from the past. So let's say I had a party weeks ago, and now I'm complaining. I can't believe John didn't come to my party. Well, my friend can say, don't cry over spilled milk. It was 3 weeks ago. Why are you still talking about it? Curiosity killed the cat. This is used to say that being inquisitive or asking a lot of questions can lead to an unpleasant situation. So let's say your husband or wife is planning you a surprise birthday party, and you try to ask a lot of questions. What are we doing? Where are we going? Who's coming? Then your husband or wife can say curiosity killed the cat. Just to remind you, don't ask so many questions to miss the boat. This is when you lose an opportunity because you are too slow to take action. For example, the application deadline was last week. I missed the boat to be on fire. This is to perform really well. Wow, your presentation was amazing. You are on fire to spill the beans. This is when you reveal a secret when you shouldn't have revealed a secret. So let's say you're planning a surprise party for someone, and then you tell everyone, don't spill the beans, don't reveal the secret. And finally, to be under the weather. This is when you feel unwell, when you feel sick. I'm a little under the weather today. You're doing a great job. Think of everything you've learned so far. Now, let's focus on how you can share your opinion and do that very professionally and naturally. You're going to learn over 50 opinion words right now. Now, let's get started with first sharing your personal opinion. Let's say you're in a work meeting and you have an idea you want to share with everyone. We should hire a marketing expert to build our website. You can absolutely see that, but you can sound more professional, more advanced if you use an opinion word. Now, there are many different phrases you can use to share your personal opinion. I recommend starting with 2 to 3 that you like the most, and then you can add more once you get comfortable with them, so you have variety and you're not always using the same one. Here's the list in my opinion, as far as I'm concerned, from my perspective. From my point of view, personally, I think that, in my view, I'd say that I believe that. I strongly, firmly believe that. I'm convinced that there's no doubt in my mind, that I feel that ... in my mind. It seems to me that. So, let's take our idea again. We should hire a marketing expert to build our website. As far as I'm concerned, we should hire a marketing expert. In my opinion, in my mind, personally, I think that we should hire a marketing expert. So you can use any one of these. And remember, variety is key. You don't always want to say, in my opinion. You can absolutely use that. But you want to have variety. Now, let's talk about agreeing with an opinion. So you're in a meeting and a colleague says, we should postpone the conference. Or your colleague used an opinion word and said, I firmly believe that we should postpone the conference. Now, let's say that you agree with your colleague. What can you say? Well, again, here's a big list. Start with 1 to 2 and add them as you get comfortable. I agree with you. I think so too. That's a good point. You're right. Definitely. Absolutely. I second that. I couldn't have said it better myself. I couldn't agree more. We're on the same page. You hit the nail on the head. So your colleague says, from my perspective, we should postpone the conference, and you say, I couldn't agree more. We should postpone the conference. You're right. We should postpone the conference. Absolutely. We should postpone the conference. I agree with you. Now, let's say your colleague shared an opinion that started with, I don't think. I don't think we should postpone the conference. Personally, I don't think we should postpone the conference. We have one very specific phrase that you can use when you want to agree with a negative opinion. Do you know what that is? In my mind, I don't think we should postpone the conference. Neither do I. Neither do I. You only use this when you're agreeing with, I don't think. Neither do I. Now, let's talk about disagreeing with an opinion. So you're in a meeting and your colleague says, in my mind, we should look for a new supplier. Now you don't agree. What can you say? You can say, I disagree with you. I'm afraid I disagree. On the contrary, I understand where you're coming from, but I respect your opinion. But that's a good point. However, I see your point, but I have a different perspective, I think. Can I share my opinion? That's one way of looking at it, but have you considered the fact that now the first one I shared, I disagree with you, is probably the least commonly used because it sounds argumentative. And we generally want to say this softly to someone. So it's way more common to say, I'm afraid I disagree with you. It makes it a lot softer. Or you could acknowledge that I respect your opinion, but I don't think that's a good idea. I respect your opinion, but I think we should keep our supplier. My personal favorite in this category is, I understand where you're coming from. But and then you share your opinion or whatever information you like. I understand where you're coming from. This is another way of saying, I respect your opinion. I understand where you're coming from. But right now isn't the best time to change our suppliers because it's our busiest time of year. We should wait until Q4. And remember, you can add your personal opinion words as well. From my perspective, in my mind, from my point of view, we should wait until Q4. So you can absolutely combine these different opinion words together. Now, let's talk about sharing a general opinion. So something that most people would agree with. Here's a statement. Repetition is key when you're learning any new skill. Now, I personally believe this, but it's not my opinion per se. This is just a commonly held opinion by most people, by many different people. So here are some general opinion words you can use. It's said that it's believed that I've heard that it's considered that it's generally accepted that most agree that some say that ... It goes without saying that researchers experts suggest that. So, I could say, it's generally accepted that repetition is key when you're learning any new skill. And personally, I agree. And personally, I couldn't have said it better myself. So you absolutely can share a general opinion, but then agree with that general opinion using one of the phrases you've already learned. Or maybe you want to disagree with this statement. Well then, of course, you can use one of the phrases to disagree. On the contrary, repetition isn't that important. I'm afraid I disagree. Repetition isn't that important in my mind. And then you can share your opinion. And finally, let's talk about how to ask someone for their opinion. So let's say I shared a general opinion. Most agree that repetition is key when learning a new skill. And I want to ask for your opinion on this specific topic. I can say, do you agree? What's your opinion? What do you think? What are your thoughts? What's your view? How do you see the situation? What's your take on it? What about you? How about you? Has that been your experience? What is your experience been? Are we on the same page? Is that something you would support too? So if you're talking to someone who's currently learning a new skill, it could be really interesting to ask them, has that been your experience? What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree? I've saved the best for last, Because one of the easiest ways that you can sound more advanced, more professional, more fluent is by using transition words. They are the secret to really elevating your English. So now you're going to learn 50 of the most common transition words. So what exactly are transition words? Well, transition words are individual words or groups of words, phrases that you can use to organize your ideas and to show connection between your ideas. They're commonly used in academic or formal writing, but you shouldn't limit their use to just that because you can absolutely use them in your spoken English, and you should use them in your spoken English to sound very advanced and professional. And if you watch to the end of this video, I'm going to share how you can use transition words to expand your ideas and to take a really simple idea and be able to talk on that idea for longer using transition words. So stay right to the end. So let's get started. You're going to learn over 50 transition words in this lesson. Don't feel overwhelmed. Just add them to your vocabulary as you go. Our first group of transition words are used to show cause and effect, causation. So here I have two separate ideas. I spilled my coffee. I changed my shirt. Now, this is where we can use a transition word to combine these ideas together and to show the relationship between them. I spilled my coffee. As a result, I changed my shirt. Cause and effect. Here are the transition words in this category, and they're listed from most formal to least formal. So you can take a screenshot of this consequently, hence, accordingly, thus, for that reason. As a result, therefore, and so since, because due to now, the example I gave you. I spilled my coffee. As a result, I changed my shirt. This is a casual statement. It might sound a little odd, perhaps out of place, to use a very formal transition word such as, consequently, in such a common everyday speech, I spilled my coffee. Consequently, I changed my shirt. You could absolutely say it. It's grammatically correct. But the choice of transition word is just a little too formal. So do not think that formal is the best. And you absolutely should use formal. You should use formal when your ideas are more formal. They're more academic. They're more professional in a business context. Let's look at a business context. The project is over budget. We have to cut costs. So again, we'll show our cause and effect. We'll use a transition word to combine these ideas. And because it's a more formal context, I can use a more formal transition word. The project is over budget. Hence, consequently, thus, we have to cut costs. Our next group of transition words is chronology. This is how events are related based on when they occur. So think of time. Here are 3 events. I went to the store. I worked out. I made dinner. Now, of course, we can add first, second, third, first, next. Finally, that's chronology. And it instantly sounds more organized and more advanced when you add the transition words. So let's review the transition words in this category first. Firstly, to start, to begin, at the beginning, at the start. Second, secondly, after, afterwards. Next, then subsequently, later. Third, thirdly, after, afterwards. Next, then, subsequently, later, finally, lastly, last, but not least. Now notice that for the second and third events, many of the transition words are the same. You can use after for the second and third event. Or you can use next for the second and third and fourth and fifth event. But you might want to avoid that so you don't sound repetitive using the same transition word again and again. So you can use next then subsequently, finally. So you can use the different transition words just to show off your advanced vocabulary. Our next category of transition words is to show contrast when you have two opposing ideas. Let me give you two ideas. I love ice cream. I'm lactose intolerant. So can you see how these two ideas are in opposition? I love ice cream is great. It's a really positive thing. But I'm lactose intolerant. That's negative. And it also means that I can't eat ice cream. So those ideas are in opposition. So we can use our contrasting transition words. However, but I love ice cream, but I'm lactose intolerant. Same thing. The transition words are listed from most formal to least formal. Again, you could say, I love ice cream. However, I'm lactose intolerant. But again, these ideas are quite simple. So you probably want a more simple transition word. Our next category of transition words is addition of similar ideas. I love ice cream. I love cake. It's adding a similar idea because they're both in the same category, which is desserts or sweets. The most common transition words from most formal to least formal in this category are furthermore, moreover, further additionally, in addition, also. And I love ice cream and I love cake. Obviously, you know that one. So why not try to advance your vocabulary by using in addition? I love ice cream. In addition, I love cake. Now, let's talk about generality. This is when things are true most of the time. The most common transition words in this category are in general, generally speaking, by and large, for the most part, most of the time, more often than not, usually, typically, mostly. So let's take an example. Our meetings are very productive. Now, of course, I'm sure there's one or two meetings that aren't very productive, but most of the time in general, generally speaking, our meetings are very productive. Now, let's look at the category of examples. There are really only three main transition words. For example, as an example, for instance, this software has really helped us. Now, it can make your point a lot stronger or help you expand on your idea by adding an example. This software has really helped us. For example, as an example, for instance, it reduced our error rate by 40%. Our next category is emphasis. This category is used to make a point stronger by adding more supporting information. Let's take a simple example. I love pie. Now, what if I wanted to make this point stronger? I could say it's my favorite dessert. I love pie. In fact, it's my favorite dessert. I love pie. As a matter of fact, it's my favorite dessert. These are the only two transition words that are commonly used to add emphasis. And finally, conclusion transition words. Notice, I just used a transition word. And finally, that is a conclusion transition word. Now, of course, in this category, we use these transition words when we want to end what we're seeing, end our speech and our presentation. Here are the most common transition words listed from most formal to least formal. In conclusion, to conclude. To summarize, in sum, all things considered. Finally, overall. Ultimately, in the end. To wrap up, to sum up all in all. So let's say I'm ending my presentation at work, and I want my colleagues to remember one very important fact. And that fact is if we want to remain competitive, we have to invest in automation. Now to let my colleagues know that this is the last point I'm going to make, my final point, I'm going to add a conclusion transition word. Ultimately, if we want to remain competitive, we have to invest in automation. So now you have 50 plus transition words to help you communicate your ideas in a very professional and organized way. Before you go, let me share a bonus tip with you. You can use transition words to help you expand on your ideas. So let's take one idea. In general, our meetings are very productive. Now I can pick any category of transition word. To expand on this idea, I could add a contrast. However, they usually run over time. So this is an opposing idea. Now let me give an example of my last point to add emphasis and to expand even more. For example, today our meeting was scheduled to end at 11 and it went until 1117. So let's expand on this even more. What was the effect of the meeting running over by 17 minutes? As a result, I was late for a meeting with a client. Were there any other effects? If there were, I could use an addition of a similar idea. Transition word. Additionally, I had to work through lunch to catch up, so your bags are packed and you're ready to visit North America. Let's talk about all the phrases that you need, starting with greetings. Now, as a tourist, you're going to be using these greetings when you go to restaurants or interact with service providers, like when you rent a car or book a tour. You can simply say hello because for more impersonal interactions, when you don't know the person socially, we just say hello. That's the standard greeting in these situations. You could also say hi there. So add there, hi there, hi there. When you go into a restaurant, hi there. Of course, you wouldn't wave. I'm just doing that. I guess you could. Hi there. Hello. Now time is specific. You could say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Don't say good night because that's what we use before you go to sleep. So after 2 p.m., you can say good evening. Now only for morning. Thanks for watching today's lesson. See you soon in the next lesson.